Have you ever been humiliated in public and chosen silence over confrontation? Sometimes, staying quiet is not weakness, it is strategy. This is the story of a woman who faced public mockery at a family lunch, kept her composure, and let consequences speak louder than words. What happened next changed everything. Before we begin this story, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are listening to this story from. We will post new stories every day. My name is Catherine, and I am 35 years old. I live in Miami, a city where the sun always shines, the ocean breeze fills the air, and life moves fast. I work as a financial consultant for small businesses, helping entrepreneurs manage their money and plan for growth. It is steady work, and I'm good at it. I built my career from the ground up, with no shortcuts and no handouts. My life is not glamorous, but it is mine, and I am proud of it. I have been married to Daniel for 8 years. He is a good man, patient, and kind. We met at a business seminar where I was speaking about financial planning. He was in the audience, and after my presentation, he came up to me with genuine questions about managing his construction company. We started talking, and we never really stopped. He is hardworking, reliable, and he has always supported my career, even when his family did not understand it. Daniel comes from a large family. His parents, Gloria and Robert, are traditional people who believe in strong family bonds and regular gatherings. They have 4 children. Daniel is the youngest. His older sister, Linda, is married to a man named Greg. Greg is 42 years old, loud and always the center of attention. He works in real estate and makes sure everyone knows how successful he is. Linda seems to adore him, laughing at every joke he makes, even when they are not funny. Then there is Daniel's brother, Marcus, who is quiet and keeps to himself. He works as an accountant and rarely engages in family drama. The oldest sibling is Karen, who is married with 3 kids and lives in a different state. She only visits twice a year, so I do not see her often. Family gatherings are frequent in Daniel's family. Birthdays, holidays, random Sundays. There is always a reason to get together. At first, I tried to fit in. I smiled, nodded, asked questions, and listened to their stories. But over time, I realized something. I was always on the outside, not because I did not try, but because they never really let me in. Greg was the worst. From the very beginning, he made little comments, nothing too direct, just small jabs disguised as jokes. He would say things like, "Oh, Catherine, still working. I thought you would be home taking care of Daniel by now." Or, "Linda does not need to work. I take care of everything." He said it with a smile, and everyone laughed, so I laughed too. I told myself it was harmless, but it was not harmless. Over the years, the comments became sharper. He questioned my clothes, my job, my choices. He made fun of the fact that Daniel and I did not have children yet. He implied that I was not a real wife because I had a career, and every time, the family laughed, or they stayed silent. Daniel would sometimes tell him to stop, but Greg would just shrug and say, "I am just joking, man. Relax." I stopped arguing. I stopped defending myself. I learned that speaking up only made things worse. They would accuse me of being too sensitive, of not being able to take a joke. So I stayed quiet. I smiled. I endured. Last Sunday, Gloria called and said there was a family lunch at a restaurant in downtown Miami. She said it was just a casual gathering. Nothing special. I did not want to go. I was tired. I had worked long hours all week, and the thought of sitting through another lunch with Greg making comments drained me. But Daniel asked me to come. He said it meant a lot to his mother, so I agreed. We arrived at the restaurant around noon. It was a nice place, with white tablecloths, soft lighting, and large windows overlooking the bay, the kind of place where people celebrate important moments. We walked in, and the family was already seated at a long table near the back. Gloria waved at us with a big smile. Robert nodded. Linda and Greg were sitting across from each other, and Marcus was at the far end, scrolling through his phone. We sat down, Daniel next to me, and I was at the edge of the table, closest to the aisle. The waiter came by and took our drink orders. I asked for iced tea. Greg ordered a beer and made a loud comment about how he needed it after dealing with a difficult client all week. Everyone nodded in sympathy. The conversation started light. "Gloria, talked about a new recipe she tried. Linda shared a story about her daughter's school play. Robert discussed plans for renovating their backyard. I listened, smiled, and contributed when it felt appropriate. I mentioned a new client I was working with, a woman who was opening a bakery. Gloria seemed interested, but Greg interrupted. "Catherine, you are always working," he said, leaning back in his chair with that familiar smirk. "Do you ever just relax? Enjoy life?" I kept my tone even. "I enjoy my work. It is fulfilling." "Fulfilling," he repeated, shaking his head. "You know what is fulfilling, coming home to a clean house and a warm meal. Right, Linda?" Linda giggled and nodded. "Greg is right. I love being home for the family." I did not respond. I just took a sip of my iced tea and looked out the window. The bay was beautiful. Boats drifted slowly across the water. I wished I was anywhere but here. The food arrived, and for a few minutes, everyone focused on eating. I ordered grilled fish with vegetables. It was good. I tried to enjoy it, but I could feel Greg's eyes on me. He was planning something. I knew that look. Halfway through the meal, he started again. "So, Catherine, when are you and Daniel going to give us some nieces and nephews? You are not getting any. Younger, you know." The table went quiet. Daniel stiffened beside me. I felt my face flush, but I kept my voice calm. "That is a personal decision, Greg. Not really something for public discussion." "Oh, come on," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "We are family. We can talk about anything." "Some things are private," I said quietly. He laughed. "Private. Everything with you is private. You are so serious all the time. Loosen up." I did not respond. I just looked down at my plate. My hands were trembling slightly, so I put my fork down and folded them in my lap. Then it happened. Greg picked up his glass of water. He looked at me with that smirk, the same one he always wore when he was about to say something he thought was funny. "You know what, Catherine? I think you need to cool down." And before I could react, he poured the entire glass of water over my head. Cold water soaked my hair, ran down my face, and dripped onto my dress. I sat there frozen. The table went completely silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. I heard a few gasps. Linda covered her mouth, but I saw the corners of her lips twitch. She was trying not to laugh. Greg leaned back in his chair, grinning. "There. Now you can relax." I did not move. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just sat there, water dripping from my hair, soaking into my clothes. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed blank. I reached for my napkin and slowly wiped my face. Daniel stood up. "What is wrong with you, Greg?" Greg shrugged. "It was just a joke, man. She is fine." "She is not fine," Daniel said, his voice rising. That was completely out of line. Gloria looked uncomfortable. "Greg, that was not nice." "Oh, come on," Greg said, still smiling. "She can take a joke." "Right, Catherine." I did not answer. I calmly picked up my purse, pulled out my phone, and sent a message. My hands were steady. My expression was calm. I placed the phone back in my purse and looked at Greg. He was still grinning, completely unbothered. Then I stood up. Water was still dripping from my hair onto the floor. I looked at Daniel. "I will wait for you outside." I walked out of the restaurant without another word. Behind me, I heard Daniel arguing with Greg, but I did not turn around. I stepped outside into the warm Miami sun, and for the first time that afternoon, I felt calm, because I knew what was coming, and it was going to be louder than anything I could have said. I stood outside the restaurant, leaning against the warm brick wall. The Miami sun was bright, almost too bright, and I could feel the heat drying the water in my hair. My dress was still damp, clinging uncomfortably to my skin. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The smell of salt from the nearby ocean mixed with the faint scent of exhaust from passing cars. I tried to focus on that instead of the humiliation I had just experienced. People walked by on the sidewalk. Some glanced at me, probably wondering why I looked like I had just been caught in a rainstorm on a perfectly sunny day. I did not care. I was used to being looked at. I was used to being judged. What I was not used to was letting it roll off me this easily. But today was different. Today, I had a plan. Inside the restaurant, I could hear raised voices. Daniel was still arguing with Greg. I could not make out the exact words, but I knew my husband was defending me. He always did. That was one of the things I loved about him, but his family never really listened to him. He was the youngest, the baby, and in their eyes, he would always be that. They respected Greg more. Greg was older, louder, more successful in their eyes. Greg had the kind of confidence that people mistook for wisdom. I pulled out my phone and checked the message I had sent. It had been delivered. Read. No response yet, but I did not expect one immediately. I put the phone back in my purse and waited. A few minutes later, Daniel came out. His face was red, and his jaw was tight. He looked at me, and I saw the frustration in his eyes. I am so sorry, Catherine. I do not know what is wrong with him. It is okay, I said softly. It is not okay, he insisted. That was completely out of line. I told him he needs to apologize. And what did he say? Daniel hesitated. He said it was just a joke. He said you are too sensitive. I nodded slowly. Of course he did. That was always the excuse. It was just a joke. I was too sensitive. I could not take a joke. I had heard it all before. Do you want to go back in? Daniel asked. No, I said. I want to go home. He looked relieved. Okay, let me just say goodbye to my parents. Take your time, I said. He went back inside, and I stayed where I was. A few moments later, Linda came out. She was holding her purse and looking uncomfortable. She walked over to me slowly, as if she was not sure whether she should say something or just leave. Catherine, she said quietly, I am sorry about what happened. I looked at her. Her apology did not sound sincere. It sounded like something she felt she was supposed to say. Are you really sorry, Linda? She blinked. Of course I am. Greg should not have done that. But you laughed, I said. My voice was calm, but firm. I saw you trying not to laugh. Her face flushed. I did not laugh. You did, I said. And so did everyone else. Or they just looked away. No one stood up for me except Daniel. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Greg was just trying to be funny. He does not mean anything by it. He humiliated me in front of your entire, family, I said. And you think that is funny? I did not say it was funny, she protested. I just think you are taking it too personally. I stared at her for a long moment. There it was again. I was taking it too personally. I was too sensitive. I should just let it go. I should just laugh along with everyone else and pretend that being treated like a joke was acceptable. Linda, I said slowly, if someone poured water on you in the middle of a restaurant, would you think it was funny? She did not answer. She just looked down at the ground. That is what I thought, I said. She opened her mouth to say something, but then she stopped. She glanced back at the restaurant, then at me. Look, I know Greg can be a lot sometimes, but he is family. We just have to put up with it. No, I said. You have to put up with it. I do not. She looked confused. What do you mean? Before I could answer, Daniel came back out with his parents. Gloria looked concerned, and Robert looked annoyed. They walked over to us. Catherine, sweetheart, Gloria said. Are you all right? I nodded. I am fine. Greg feels terrible, she said. I almost laughed. Greg did not feel terrible. Greg felt nothing, but I did not say that. I just nodded again. Robert cleared his throat. Look, Catherine, I know Greg can be a little rough around the edges, but he did not mean anything by it. He is just like that. I understand, I said. Good, Robert said, clearly relieved. So we can all just move past this, right? I did not answer. I just looked at Daniel. Can we go now? Yeah, he said. Let me get the car. He walked toward the parking lot, and I stayed with his parents and Linda. The silence was awkward. Gloria kept glancing at me like she wanted to say something but did not know what. Robert checked his watch. Linda looked at her phone. Finally, Daniel pulled up in the car. I got in without saying goodbye. He drove in silence for a few minutes, and then he spoke. I am really sorry, Catherine. I should have said something sooner. I should have stopped him before it got that far. It is not your fault, I said. But I knew he was going to do something. I could see it coming, and I just sat there. You defended me afterward, I said. That matters. He shook his head. It is not enough. I should have shut him down the moment he started. I should have told my family a long time ago that the way they treat you is not okay. Why did you not? I asked. He was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. Because they are my family, and I guess I kept hoping they would change. I kept thinking that if I just gave them time, they would see how amazing you are. But they do not. They just see you as the outsider who does not fit their idea of what a wife should be. And what is their idea? I asked. Someone like Linda, he admitted. Someone who stays home, does not work, does not challenge anything. Someone who just goes along with whatever the men in the family say. I nodded. I already knew that. I had known it for years, but hearing Daniel say it out loud made it real. I love you, Catherine, he said, and I am tired of watching them treat you like this. I am going to talk to them. I am going to make it clear that if they cannot respect you, then we are not going to keep showing up to these gatherings. Do not do that, I said. He looked at me, surprised. Why not? Because it will not change. Anything, I said. They will just think I am controlling you. They will think I am trying to turn you against your family. I do not care what they think, he said. But I do, I said. Because I do not want to be the reason you lose your family. You are not the reason, he said. They are. We drove the rest of the way home in silence. When we pulled into the driveway, I got out and went inside. I took a long shower. Washing the smell of chlorine and humiliation off my skin, I changed into comfortable clothes and sat down on the couch. Daniel sat next to me. What did you do? He asked quietly. I looked at him. What do you mean? In the restaurant, he said. Before you left, you sent a message. I saw you. I smiled slightly. I contacted someone. Who? A lawyer, I said. His eyes widened. A lawyer. Why? Because I am done being humiliated, I said, and I am done letting Greg get away with it. Catherine, what are you planning? You will see, I said. Just trust me. He looked worried, but he did not push. He knew me well enough to know that when I made a decision, I followed through. The next morning, I woke up early and checked my phone. There was a response to the message I had sent. It was exactly what I had hoped for. I smiled and put the phone down. Then I got ready for the day. I had work to do, and I needed to stay focused. By late afternoon, my phone rang. It was Linda. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Catherine, she said, her voice shaking. What did you do? What do you mean? I asked calmly. Greg just got a letter, she said. From a lawyer. It says you are considering legal action for public humiliation and emotional distress. That is correct, I said. You cannot be serious, she said. It was just a joke. It was not a joke, Linda, I said. It was assault. He poured water on me in a public place without my consent. That is grounds for legal action. You are going to sue him, she asked, her voice rising. Over water? Over years of harassment, I said. The water was just the final incident. She was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. Again, her voice quieter. Catherine, please, do not do this. It will tear the family apart. The family has been torn apart for years, I said. You just did not notice because I was the one being hurt. But we can fix this, she said. Greg will apologize. He will make it right. It is too late for apologies, I said. Please, she begged. Just think about Daniel. Think about what this will do to him. I am thinking about Daniel, I said, and I am thinking about myself. For once, I am putting myself first. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt strong. For the first time in years, I felt like I had control. A pause in the story to ask you, are you enjoying this account so far? Do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We will post new stories every day. Thank you. Let us continue. The next few days were strange. I went to work as usual, met with clients, reviewed financial reports, and answered emails. On the surface, everything seemed normal, but underneath, I could feel the tension building. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Daniel's family. Linda sent me several texts, each one more desperate than the last. Gloria called twice, but I let it go to voicemail. I was not ready to talk to them yet. Daniel was caught in The middle. I could see the strain on his face every time his phone rang. His mother would call, then his father, then Linda again. They all wanted the same thing. They wanted me to drop the legal matter. They wanted me to forget what happened. They wanted everything to go back to the way it was before. But I could not do that. I would not do that. On Wednesday evening, Daniel came home from work looking exhausted. He dropped his keys on the counter and sat down heavily at the kitchen table. I was making dinner, chopping vegetables for a salad. I could feel him watching me. "Catherine," he said quietly, "we need to talk." I put down the knife and turned to face him. "Okay." He rubbed his face with both hands. "My family is going crazy. My mom has called me 5 times today. Linda has been texting nonstop. Even Marcus reached out, and he never gets involved in anything." "What are they saying?" I asked. "They want you to drop the legal action," he said. "They think you are overreacting. They think this is going to destroy the family." "And what do you think?" I asked. He was quiet for a moment. Then he looked up at me. "I think Greg deserved it. I think he has been treating you terribly for years, and someone needed to hold him accountable. But I also think this is going to get ugly." "I know," I said. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked. "Because once you start, there is no going back." "I am sure," I said. He nodded slowly. "Then I am with you. Whatever happens, I am on your side." I walked over to him and put my hand on his shoulder. "Thank you." He covered my hand with his. "Just promise me one thing. Promise me you will not let this consume you. I do not want you to lose yourself in revenge. This is not about revenge," I said. "This is about respect. This is about showing them that I am not someone they can walk all over anymore." "I know," he said, "but just be careful. Greg is not going to take this lying down. He is going to fight back." "Let him," I said. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about what was coming. I knew Greg would not apologize. I knew he would deny everything, twist the situation, and try to make me look like the villain. But I was ready. I had been preparing for this moment for longer than I realized. The next morning, I received a call from my lawyer, a woman named Rachel. She was in her early 50s, sharp, professional, and experienced in harassment cases. I had found her through a colleague who had used her services before. Rachel did not waste time with pleasantries. "Catherine," she said, "I have reviewed your case, and I believe we have a strong foundation. Public humiliation in a crowded restaurant, witnesses present, and a documented history of verbal harassment. However, I need to be clear with you. This is going to be uncomfortable. The other party will likely try to settle out of court, but if they refuse, we may have to go through a lengthy legal process." "I understand," I said. "Good," she said. "I'm going to send a formal demand letter to Greg and his wife. It will outline the incident, the damages you are claiming, and the option to settle before we escalate further. I will also request a formal apology and an agreement that he will cease all contact with you moving forward." "What kind of damages are we talking about?" I asked. "Emotional distress, public humiliation, and compensation for therapy if you choose to pursue it," she said. "I am recommending we start with a figure of $20,000. It is high enough to send a message, but low enough that it does not look frivolous. $20,000. I had not thought about a specific amount before. Hearing it out loud made it real. This was not just about making Greg uncomfortable anymore. This was about holding him financially accountable. "Is that too much?" I asked. "Not at all," Rachel said. "In fact, given the circumstances and the witnesses, I think it is reasonable. If this goes to court, we could potentially ask for more. But the goal here is not to bankrupt him. The goal is to make him understand that actions have consequences." "Okay," I said. "Send the letter. I will send it today," she said. "Expect a response within a week. And Catherine, prepare yourself. This is going to get messy." She was right. It got messy fast. 2 days later, Greg called Daniel. I was sitting next to my husband on the couch when his phone rang. Daniel looked at the screen, then at me. "It is Greg." "Answer it," I said. He put the phone on speaker. "Hello, Daniel." Greg's voice came through, loud and angry. "What is your wife doing? Is she out of her mind?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "Watch how you talk about my wife." I to Greg. "Watch how I talk," Greg shouted. "She is trying to sue me over a glass of water. This is insane. You humiliated her in front of everyone. Daniel said. What did you expect? I expected her to act like an adult and let it go, Greg said. It was a joke. Everyone knows it was a joke. No one was laughing except you, Daniel said. That is not true, Greg argued. Linda thought it was funny. Your parents did. Not say anything. If it was such a big deal, someone would have said something. I said something. Daniel shot back. I told you it was out of line. And I apologized. Greg said. No, you did not, I said, speaking up for the first time. There was silence on the other end. Then Greg's voice came back, colder. Oh, so you are there. Of course you are. You are probably loving this. Are you not? Finally getting the attention you always wanted. This is not about attention, I said calmly. This is about respect. Respect? He laughed bitterly. You want respect? Then maybe you should act like someone worth respecting, instead of running to a lawyer like a child every time someone hurts your feelings. Greg, Daniel warned, that is enough. No, it is not enough, Greg said. Your wife is trying to destroy my reputation over, nothing. She is trying to take money from me because she cannot handle a little teasing. This is ridiculous, and you know it. You poured water on her head in a public place, Daniel said. That is not teasing. That is assault. Greg scoffed. Assault. Give me a break. If she thinks that was assault, then she has lived a very sheltered life. I felt my hands ball into fists, but I kept my voice steady. Greg, you have been making comments about me for years. You have questioned my career, my choices, my marriage. You have made me feel unwelcome in your family at every opportunity. And when I stayed silent, you thought that meant I was okay with it. But I was not okay with it. I was just waiting for the right moment. The right moment, he repeated. So you have been planning this. You have been waiting for an excuse to come after me. No, I said. I was hoping you would change. I was hoping you would realize that your behavior was hurtful, but you did not. So now I am taking action. You are unbelievable, he said. You know what? Fine. Go ahead. Sue me. Take me to court. I will fight this, and I will win. And when I do, everyone is going to see you for what you really are. A manipulative, vindictive woman who could not take a joke. We will see, I said. He hung up. Daniel put the phone down and looked at me. Are you okay? I am fine, I said. But my heart was racing. Greg's words stung more than I wanted to admit. Not because I believed them, but because I knew that was how his family saw me now. I was the villain. I was the one tearing them apart. The next day, Linda showed up at our house unannounced. I was working from home, sitting at my desk in the spare bedroom we used as an office. I heard the doorbell ring, and a few moments later, Daniel knocked on the door. Linda is here, he said. I sighed. Okay, I will be down in a minute. When I came downstairs, Linda was standing in the living room, her arms crossed. She looked tired. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was not wearing makeup. She looked at me with a mixture of frustration and desperation. Catherine, she said, please, you have to stop this. I am not stopping, I said. Why are you doing this? She asked. What do you want from us? I want Greg to understand that he cannot treat people this way, I said. He understands, she insisted. He knows he messed up, but suing him is not going to fix anything. It is just going to make everything worse. It is already worse, I said. It has been worse for years. You just did not notice because I was the one suffering. You were not suffering, she said. Greg teases everyone. He teases me too. That is just how he is. Does he pour water on you in restaurants? I asked. She hesitated. No, but that was different. He was just trying to lighten the mood by humiliating me. He did not mean it that way, she said. I shook my head. Linda, do you hear yourself? You are making excuses for him. You have always made excuses for him, and that is fine. That is your choice. But I am not going to make excuses anymore. So what? You are just going to destroy my marriage? She asked, her voice breaking. Because that is what you are doing. Greg is stressed. He is not sleeping. This is tearing us apart. Then maybe he should apologize, I said. He does not know how, she said quietly. I stared at her. What? He does. Not know how to apologize, she repeated. He never learned. His father was the same way. They just do not do apologies. That is not an excuse, I said. I know, she said. But please, just give him a chance. Let him make it right. How? I asked. How is he going to make it right? She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, what if he paid for the damages without going to court? What if he wrote you an apology letter? Would that be enough? I looked at her. For the first time, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. She was terrified. Not for me, for herself, for her marriage, for her life. I will think about it, I said. She nodded, her eyes filling with tears. Thank you. After she left, Daniel came into the room. What are you going to do? I do not know yet, I said. But I did know. I was going to see this through. Because this was not just about Greg anymore. This was about me. This was about proving to myself that I was worth more than the way they had treated me. And I was not backing down. The days that followed were some of the quietest I had experienced in a long time. It was the kind of quiet that settles in before something big happens. The calm before the storm. I went through my daily routine with a strange sense of detachment. I worked. I cooked. I cleaned. I spoke to clients with my usual professionalism. But in the back of my mind, I was always thinking about what was coming next. Daniel noticed the change in me. He would watch me sometimes, like he was trying to figure out what I was thinking. But he did not push. He knew I needed space to process everything, and I appreciated that about him. He trusted me to handle this in my own way. On Friday afternoon, Rachel called me again. Her voice was calm but businesslike, the way it always was. Catherine, I have an update for you. Greg's lawyer reached out to me this morning. Already? I asked, surprised. It had only been a few days since the demand letter was sent. Yes, she said. They want to settle out of court. They are offering $15,000, a written apology, and an agreement that Greg will have no further contact with you at family events. If you both happen to be at the same gathering, he is required to maintain distance and refrain from any interaction. I sat down slowly on the couch. $15,000. A written apology. No contact. It was almost exactly what I had asked for. Just slightly lower on the financial amount. Part of me felt victorious. Part of me felt empty. What do you think? I asked Rachel. I think it is a reasonable offer, she said. It shows they are taking this seriously. They know they do not have a strong defense, and they do not want this to go to court. If we push for the full $20,000, they might agree, but it could drag out the process. My recommendation is to accept this offer, get the apology in writing, and move forward. Can I have some time to think about it? I asked. Of course, she said, but do not take too long. Offers like this can be withdrawn if they feel you are not interested. I will let you know by Monday, I said. After I hung up, I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall. I thought about Linda's visit, about her desperate plea for me to stop. I thought about Greg's angry phone call, about the way he accused me of being manipulative and vindictive. I thought about all the years of small comments, all the times I smiled and stayed silent, all the moments I swallowed my pride because I did not want to cause trouble. And then I thought about the water, the cold shock of it hitting my face, the laughter, the silence, the way everyone looked away. I picked up my phone and texted Rachel. I accept the offer. Let's move forward. Her response came quickly. Good decision. I will draft the settlement agreement and send it to their lawyer. This should be finalized within the week. I put my phone down and exhaled slowly. It was done. Or at least, the legal part was done. But I knew the real consequences were just beginning. That evening, I told Daniel about the settlement. We were sitting in the living room, the television on, but neither of us really watching it. He listened quietly as I explained everything. So it is over? He asked when I finished. Legally, yes, I said. But I do not think it is really over. Not for your family. He nodded. My mom called me today. She wants to have a family meeting. She wants everyone to sit down and talk this through. When? I asked. Tomorrow, he said. At their house. She asked if you would come. I looked at him. Do you want me to go? I want you to do whatever feels right for you, he said. But honestly, I think it might be good. I think everyone needs to hear your side. They need to understand why this happened. They are not going to understand, I said. They are going to blame me. They are going to say I ruined everything. Maybe, he said, but maybe not. Maybe some of them will actually listen. I thought about it for a long moment. Part of me wanted to refuse. Part of me wanted to stay as far away from that family as possible. But another part of me wanted to face them. I wanted to look them in the eye and tell them exactly how I felt. I wanted them to know that I was not ashamed. I was not sorry. I was done being their punching bag. Okay, I said. I will go. The next day, we drove to Daniel's parents' house. It was a large, 2-story home in a quiet neighborhood about 20 minutes from where we lived. The yard was perfectly maintained, with trimmed hedges and bright flowers lining the walkway. It looked like the kind of house where happy families gathered for holidays and celebrations. But as we pulled into the driveway, all I felt was dread. Daniel reached over and squeezed my hand. You do not have to do this. Yes, I do, I said. We got out of the car and walked to the front door. Before we could knock, Gloria opened it. She looked tired, her face lined with worry. She smiled at us, but it did not reach her eyes. Come in, she said softly. We stepped inside. The house smelled like coffee and something sweet, maybe cookies. The living room was full. Robert sat in his usual armchair, his arms crossed. Linda and Greg were on the couch, sitting as far apart as the cushions would allow. Linda looked like she had been crying. Greg looked angry. Marcus was there too, standing near the window with his hands in his pockets. He gave me a small nod when I walked in. Catherine. Daniel, Gloria said. Thank you for coming. Please, sit down. We sat in the 2 chairs near the fireplace. The room was silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. Everyone was looking at me. I kept my face neutral, my hands folded in my lap. Robert cleared his throat. All right, let us get this over with. Catherine, we are all here because this situation has gotten out of hand. We are a family, and we do not solve problems by bringing in lawyers and threatening lawsuits. I did not threaten, I said calmly. I took legal action because I was humiliated in public, and no one did anything to stop it. It was a joke, Greg said, his voice tight. How many times do I have to say that? It was not a joke to me, I said, looking directly at him. And if it was a joke, why is no one laughing now? He opened his mouth to respond, but Gloria cut him off. Greg, let her speak. I took a breath. I have been part of this family for 8 years, and in those 8 years, I have been made to feel like I do not belong. Greg has made comments about my job, my choices, my marriage. He has questioned whether I am a good wife because I work. He has implied that I am selfish because Daniel and I do not have children yet, and every time he did it, everyone either laughed or stayed silent. That is not fair, Linda said quietly. We did not know it bothered you that much. Because I did not say anything, I said. Because every time I tried to defend myself, I was told I was too sensitive. I was told to lighten up. I was told it was just Greg being Greg. So I stopped defending myself. I stayed quiet. And you all took that as permission to keep treating me this way. We never meant to hurt you, Gloria said, her eyes glistening. Maybe not, I said. But you did. And when Greg poured that water on me, it was not just about the water. It was about years of feeling disrespected and dismissed. It was about being treated like I did not matter. Robert shifted in his chair. So you decided to sue him? I decided to hold him accountable, I said. Because no one else would. Greg stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. I am not sitting here and listening to this. You are acting like I committed some terrible offense when all I did was try to get you to relax. You have always been so uptight, so serious. I was just trying to help. By humiliating me, I asked, my voice rising slightly, by making me the joke in front of everyone. You made yourself the joke by overreacting. He shot back. Greg, Daniel said sharply, standing up. Sit down. No, Greg said. I am done with this. I am done with her acting like she is some victim. She is the one who brought lawyers into this. She is the one tearing this family apart. You tore it apart the moment you poured that water on her, Daniel said, his voice low and dangerous. And you are too proud to admit it. Greg stared at him, his jaw clenched. Then he looked at me. You are not even worth it, he said. He turned and walked toward the door. "Greg, wait," Linda called, standing up. But he did not stop. He walked out of the house and slammed the door behind him. Linda looked at me, tears streaming down her face. Then she ran after him. The room was silent. Gloria was crying softly, her hand over her mouth. Robert looked stunned. Marcus was still standing by the window, but now he was looking at me with something that might have been respect. "I am sorry," I said quietly. "I did not come here to cause more pain. I came here because I wanted you to understand." Gloria wiped her eyes. "I do understand, Catherine. I do. And I am sorry. I am sorry we did not see what was happening. I am sorry we did not protect you." "Thank you," I said. Robert stood up slowly. He walked over to me and extended his hand. I hesitated, then shook it. "You are right," he said. "We should have said something. I should have said something. Greg has always been difficult, but that is no excuse." Marcus finally spoke. "For what it is worth, Catherine, I always thought you were too good for this family." I smiled slightly. "Thank you, Marcus." Daniel and I left shortly after. As we drove home, he reached over and took my hand. "You did. Good in there." "I do not know," I said. "I feel like I just made everything worse." "You did not," he said. "You stood up for yourself, and that is something they needed to see." When we got home, I checked my phone. There was a message from Rachel. "Settlement agreement signed by both parties. Apology letter will be delivered to you by end of day Monday. Congratulations. Catherine, you did it." I stared at the message for a long time. I had won. Legally, financially, morally, I had won. But it did not feel the way I thought it would. It did not feel triumphant. It just felt quiet. And in that quiet, I realized something. This was not the end. This was the beginning. The beginning of a life where I did not have to shrink myself to make others comfortable. The beginning of a life where I mattered. And that was worth everything. A pause in the story to remind you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are listening to this story from. We will post new stories every day. Thank you. Let us continue. Monday morning arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze coming through the open window. I woke up early, made coffee, and sat on the balcony overlooking the street. Miami was already alive with activity. Cars passed by. People walked there. Dogs, joggers moved along the sidewalk. Life continued as it always did. But for me, something had shifted. Something fundamental had changed inside. Daniel had already left for work. Before he left, he kissed my forehead and whispered, "I am proud of you." Those words stayed with me as I sat there, watching the world move forward. Around noon, a courier arrived at the door with an envelope. I signed for it and took it inside. My hands were steady as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, the apology letter from Greg. I sat down at the kitchen table and read it slowly. "Catherine, I am writing this letter as part of the settlement agreement, but also because I have had time to think about what happened. What I did at the restaurant was wrong. I should not have poured water on you. I should not have made you the target of my joke. I have been told by my lawyer that my behavior could be considered assault, and while I did not see it that way at the time, I understand now that my actions caused you harm. I apologize for the humiliation you experienced. I also apologize for the years of comments that made you feel unwelcome in the family. That was not my intention, but I see now that intention does not erase impact. I will respect the terms of the settlement and will keep my distance at family gatherings. I hope that in time, we can all move forward. Greg." I read it twice. It was not perfect. It was not heartfelt, but it was something. It was acknowledgement. It was accountability. And for the first time in 8 years, Greg had admitted he was wrong. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a drawer. Then I called Rachel. "I received the letter," I said. "Good," she said. "The funds will be transferred to your account within 48 hours. As far as the legal matter is concerned, this case is closed. How are you feeling?" "I am not sure yet," I said honestly. "That is normal," she said. "You have been through a lot. Give yourself time to process it all. And Catherine, for what it is worth, you handled this with incredible strength. A lot of people would have backed down. You did not. Thank you, Rachel." I said, "For everything. Anytime," she said. "Take care of yourself." After I hung up, I sat in silence for a while. Then I opened my laptop and started working. I had clients to manage, reports to finish, plans to create. Life did not stop just because I had won a legal battle. And I was grateful for that. I was grateful for the routine, for the structure, for the reminder that I had built something for myself that no one could take away. That evening, Daniel came home with takeout from my favorite restaurant. We ate together on the couch, talking about our day. He told me about a difficult client, about a project that was running behind schedule. I told him about a new bakery owner I was working with, a woman who reminded me of myself when I first started my career. Determined, hopeful, a little scared. "I am glad you are smiling again," Daniel said. "I did not realize I had stopped," I said. "You did," he said. "For a while. But you are back now." "I am," I said, and I meant it. The next few weeks passed without incident. I did not hear from Greg or Linda. I did not hear from Gloria or Robert either, and that was fine. I needed the space. I needed time to rebuild myself without the weight of their expectations pressing down on me. Then, about a month after the settlement, Gloria called. I hesitated before answering, but something told me I should. "Catherine," she said softly, "I hope I am not bothering you." "You are not," I said. "I wanted to reach out because I have been thinking a lot about everything that happened," she said. "And I wanted you to know that I am sorry, truly sorry. I should have been a better mother-in-law to you. I should have protected you. I should have spoken up when Greg was out of line. I did not, and I regret that deeply." I was quiet for a moment, letting her words settle. "Thank you, Gloria. That means a lot. I also wanted to ask if you and Daniel would consider coming to dinner," she said. "Just the four of us. You, Daniel, Robert, and me. No one else. I want to start over. I want to do better." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say no. Part of me wanted to keep my distance and protect myself from any further hurt. But another part of me recognized the courage it took for her to make this call. She was trying, and that mattered. "I will talk to Daniel," I said, "and I will let you know." "Thank you," she said. "That is all I can ask." That night, I told Daniel about the call. He looked surprised, then thoughtful. "What do you want to do?" "I think I want to give her a chance," I said. "And not for her sake, for mine, because I do not want to carry anger around for the rest of my life. I want to move forward. Then we will go," he said. 2 weeks later, we went to dinner at Gloria and Robert's house. It was strange walking back into that home, but this time it felt different. There was no crowd, no tension, just the four of us sitting around the dining table, eating a simple meal that Gloria had prepared herself. The conversation was careful at first. We talked about safe topics, work, the weather, plans for the upcoming holidays. But as the evening went on, the conversation deepened. Robert admitted that he had always known Greg could be difficult, but he had never realized how much damage his words could cause. "I thought it was just teasing," Robert said, "but I see now that it was more than that, and I am sorry I did not step in." "I appreciate that," I said. Gloria reached across the table and took my hand. "You are part of this family, Catherine, and I want you to feel that way. I want you to feel safe here." I squeezed her hand gently. "Thank you. It was not perfect. It was not a complete resolution, but it was a start, and sometimes that is all you need." Over the following months, my relationship with Daniel's parents slowly improved. We started having dinner with them once a month, just the four of us. It was quiet, comfortable, and respectful. They asked about my work, and they listened when I talked. They stopped making assumptions about my life and started seeing me as a person, not just as Daniel's wife. Greg and Linda, on the other hand, kept their distance. I heard through Daniel that they were having problems in their marriage. Apparently, the legal situation had put a strain on their relationship. Linda was angry that Greg had let things get that far. Greg was resentful that he had been forced to apologize and pay money. They were in therapy, trying to work through it. I did not feel sorry for Greg, but I did feel sorry for Linda. She had spent so many years defending him, making excuses for him, and now she was realizing that maybe he was not the person she thought he was. Marcus reached out to me a few times. We met for coffee once, and he told me he admired what I had done. "You stood up for yourself," he said. "That takes guts. I wish I had done that years ago." "It is never too late," I said. He smiled. Maybe you are right. As the months passed, I found myself feeling lighter. The anger I had carried for so long started to fade. It did not disappear completely, but it no longer consumed me. I realized that holding Greg accountable had not just been about punishing him. It had been about reclaiming my voice. It had been about reminding myself that I mattered. My career continued to grow. I took on more clients, expanded my services, and even started offering workshops for women entrepreneurs. I loved the work. I loved helping people build something from nothing. I loved watching them succeed. Daniel and I grew closer through all of this. The experience had tested our marriage, but it had also strengthened it. We learned how to communicate better, how to support each other through difficult times, and how to stand together even when the world felt like it was falling apart. One evening, about 6 months after the settlement, Daniel and I were sitting on the balcony watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air was warm and humid, the way it always is in Miami. "Do you ever regret it?" Daniel asked quietly. "Regret what?" I asked. "Taking legal action. Everything that happened after." I thought about it for a long moment. Then I shook my head. "No, I do not regret it. I needed to do it. Not just for me, but for every version of myself that stayed silent when I should have spoken up." He smiled. "You are incredible, you know that. I am just someone who got tired of being treated badly," I said. "No," he said. "You are someone who refused to accept it anymore, and that is different." He was right, and as I sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I realized something important. This was not just a story about revenge or justice. This was a story about self-worth. This was a story about learning that you do not have to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. This was a story about walking away from people who do not value you and building a life with people who do. A few weeks later, I received an unexpected message. It was from Linda. "Catherine, I know we have not spoken in a long time. I just wanted to say that I am sorry for everything, for laughing, for staying silent, for defending him when I should have defended you. I see it now, and I am sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed a response. "Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that." It was not much, but it was enough, because forgiveness is not about forgetting. It is about releasing the hold that the past has on you. And I was ready to let go. As I closed my laptop that night, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. True, deep, unshakable peace. I had fought for myself. I had stood my ground. I had won. Not because I destroyed someone else, but because I refused to let them destroy me. And that, I realized, was the most important victory of all. Life continued. The world kept turning. But I was different now. Stronger, braver, more sure of who I was and what I deserved. And I knew, without a doubt, that I would never let anyone pour water on me again. Not literally, not figuratively, not ever, because I had learned the most important lesson of all. Silence is not always strength. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is speak up. And when you do, the world listens.